We're just going to jump into this because you are here for some answers. And I think I've got something that can help you. All right, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about how to create content as an educator when you don't like social media. And originally, I had this as when you hate social media, but I was like, maybe that's too strong. But does anyone here actually hate social media? Raise your hand. I kind of hate social media sometimes, but it is a necessary evil in this world. So let's get into it. Drop in the chat box. Where are you joining from? I see some friendly and familiar faces. Put it in the chat box. Christine, thank you for coming today. I'm glad to see you here. Larkspur representing the Twin Cities. Got Virginia, Isabel in Guatemala, Amy in Florida, Kara in Chicago. Awesome. People from all over the country and the world, actually. Love it. All right. So a little housekeeping. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A box because that will allow me to get to them quicker. Do mute yourself unless, I'm answering questions and then you can just speak up at that time. But what happens sometimes is someone enters and they're not muted and then it's like they're like doing dishes or cooking or something and it becomes challenging for everyone to hear. And then stay engaged. Like this is for you. I poured a lot of time and energy into this, but it's not about me, it's about you because the value of this, I've paid thousands of dollars for coaching programs and courses that taught me this, and I've used this and it is so valuable. I'm giving it away for free, but I promise you, if you actually give your attention to this, it's going to pay off big for you. So give yourself a chance to really understand this. Sound good? All right, so first question, who are you? Are you an EF coach seeking a predictable way to grow your business and share your expertise? Are you a classroom teacher looking to create resources for students and families? Transitioning educator, creating a game plan for your next steps, or something else? Drop it in the chat box. And what I also tell people in these meetings is drop in like your LinkedIn or your website because someone else might see what you're doing and be inspired. So I encourage people to network in these moments. Share as you wish in the chat box. Now, a couple of reasons that you might have joined today. You want to share your valuable expertise with the world, but you're not sure how. Maybe you're just pumping things out on ChatGPT, hoping it's going to nail something. Maybe you're looking at all these silly people creating businesses online and making money, and you're like, what do they know that I don't know? Like, how are these people doing this and sharing these statistics when I have a master's degree or a doctoral degree? How do I figure this out? Or maybe you want to make a bigger impact through one-to-many content, and you're wondering, how do I do that? Is there any other reason you might have joined today that I'm not aware of? I'd love for you to drop that in the chat box. And I'm going to pull that chat box up right now, see what people are saying. We got some coaches, tutors. Okay, awesome. Carissa, glad you made it today. I think you're going to get value from this. Really do. So let me just share a little bit about why I do this. So I have had a rocky journey as a content creator. For anyone who's been following my emails for the past couple of years, you've probably seen some chaotic, stress-filled emails at times. But the one thing I can say I did was I kept going. There were days when I was like publishing an email like at the deadline of what I set for myself, which is Fridays at 9 a.m. I'm not there anymore, and I want you to avoid that, but it's been a journey. So around September 2022, I started an email list or I started sending weekly emails out with less than 100 subscribers. So and when I say subscribers, these were people that basically had just been coaching clients or students who I'd worked with who were like, yeah, I'll get your weekly tip. So it wasn't like I had anything spectacular. So I would spend 3+ hours every week trying to figure out what to write, like just like searching for inspiration. Is anyone there where when you sit down to write, you're like, all right, what could I possibly write about as I sit here and try to connect with my audience? But it was around 2024 that I learned a method or system for being consistent and providing quality to my audience. So now I spend about 2 to 3 hours monthly to produce my content, and that includes a weekly email for parents and educators, a weekly email for coaches, a weekly upcoming events email. Um, all that I can get done with some support, but I'll talk to you about that in about 2 to 3 hours a month, batching it. Now, I just want to do a little humble brag here so you can see that it's not just like, oh, I'm producing content, I'm cool, like, but it actually has results. So I just pulled this up from my Wix dashboard to look at the previous year, which is where I post my content. So I had over 100,000 site sessions. I had over 75,000 unique visitors, and those people often will subscribe to the email list, or a fair amount of them. For my emails that I send out each week, drop a yes in the chat box. Does anyone get my email? I'm assuming most people found it from there, but I'm curious. Okay, cool. So you all know, um, in the last 30 days, so I pulled this stat from yesterday. I sent 84,000 emails. Now, of course, you didn't get 84,000 of my emails in your inbox, but total emails that were sent out, and more than half of those were opened. And I guess that's a really good open rate for most emails because I've talked to other people and they get like a 20% or 30% email rate. And I attribute that to the fact that I really do invest my energy, time, and thought into trying to make these as quality as possible. Now, why does this all matter, right? These are all just statistics, but why does it matter whether or not people are visiting or reading your content and you have a way to track that? Well, let's dig into that because this is what you came for. So when you create content, number one, it positions you as the expert or go-to person on a topic. If you create something, then people are like, oh, Christine was talking about executive functioning. Like, you should ask her, right? But it also drives people to visit your website, newsletter, whatever you offer, right? They're like, oh my God, this person posts every week about this particular challenge. Well, I'm thinking of them. I'm going to go visit their website. I'm going to click on their bio, right? It allows you to help people on a one-to-many scale. Who would prefer to trade less time for money and rather trade more of your expertise for money? Is anyone wanting a little bit of more of that in their life? But it also lets you work with people who really value your expertise, right? It's the worst thing when you're working with someone who doesn't want to be there. It's like, who wants to, they don't want to be there, you don't want to be there. It's not fun. So we want you, or I want you to be able to work with people who like really want to be there. And for example, my coaching academy, most people have read articles, watched YouTube videos. They've found so much value from my free content that when they show up for my training programs, they're excited to be there. Like, I really don't have a lot of people who are like, I don't want to be here. Actually, I don't think I've ever had someone who didn't want to be there because what I create drives them to want to be a part of it. So that's the people I want you to have around you. And the last part is that free content is the first step in the modern customer journey. So who here has heard of this modern customer journey thing? Well, if you haven't heard of it, I broke it down for you. I made this. So I want to explain it to you in the way that I understand it. I mean, everyone's seen a little funnel image before, but I made this specifically for coaches and educators. So check this out. So when someone has a problem, they start by Googling it, or nowadays they search in ChatGPT, or maybe they go to YouTube. All right. And that's where the problem awareness starts. So maybe someone's like, how do I unclog my toilet? For example, right? They're like, okay, I'm TikTok searching unclog my toilet, right? So they're aware of the problem. Now they're not aware of the solution usually at that point. They don't know about some specialized solution or product or whatever. They're just aware of the problem. And the biggest mistake most coaches make and most educators make is they only share solutions. But most people don't know about that solution. Most people don't even know what executive function coaching is. But they do know that their kid's missing assignments. They do know that they're nagging their child to get things done. They do know that they're feeling burnt out because they're a professional working and they're trying to keep their kid on track to apply for college. So you have to start with problem awareness, not solutions. So already I hope that helps you think a little bit differently. So it might be like something like, why is my student missing so many assignments? I just want to make sure my microphone is working correctly here. Okay, good. All right. Now the next step is research. So they're like, okay, I got this problem. My kid is missing assignments. Oops, going the wrong way. Sorry. They're like, I got this problem. My kid's missing assignments. Let me Google that. Let me type it into ChatGPT. And now they start getting results like, oh, someone wrote this article on why your student is missing so many assignments, right? And they start to see videos, they start to see content, and they're like, okay, I like this one. I'm going to read more. I'm going to look at it, right? And so this is why you want to focus on the problem, not the solution to start with everything you create. And as they see your content, they're going to be like, you know what? I like the way this person formats their post. I like the friendly image they have at the top of their blog. I like the color scheme they use, right? There's all these little nuanced factors that you want to start to consider as you create your content. And as they look at more stuff that you create, they're going to start to trust you. They're going to be like, wow, this person has posted for 2 years on this one topic. Like, this is clearly not a get rich quick scheme for them. They care about this. They're invested in this, right? And so now they start to go into consideration. Like, okay, well, I like what Sherry's sharing. I also like what Christine's sharing. Let me kind of see like what their offers are. And so this is where you move into this conversion, right? So if you look at this, they start to maybe comment or share or whatever it might be, and then they want to try something, right? So this is where you could say, hey, if this is valuable to you, download this free checklist on how to help your kid do less missing assignments. It could also be for you, book a free 15-minute call if you have the time for that, right? That's a conversion. They are now going from considering and researching to I want to spend some time with this person. And then if they have a good experience and they're like, oh my God, this checklist that I tried or this little thing worked, they're going to want to pay you to learn more. People want to spend money. We live in a capitalist world. People want to spend money on things they value, right? So make it easy for them to do that by providing them lots of value up front. My whole thing is give, 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 and people will just want to give you money at some point, right? Don't even worry about the money. It will come if you just keep giving. So that's kind of scary though. But we're gonna talk about how to make it work for you. But before we do that, we got to dispel a couple myths about social media and content creation. So, first off, myth that I see a lot of coaches, I need to pay someone to do it. Like, I don't get this. I'm not touching it. I'm going to pay this media consultant or marketing expert $30,000 to build my website. All right. I've been there. I know it sucks. But we can learn from this. Okay. Second myth, only techie people can figure this out. Oh, I'm not a tech person, right? You say that you've already put yourself in a box. And I've said that too. Like there's certain things I'm learning right now that I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. You know, I was scared of building a website at one point. But look, tech has become so accessible, right? Like, I mean, you can do this. Let me just say that. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but you can do this. It'll take hours every week. Who's scared of the time commitment, right? Oh, I don't have time for this. I'm a parent. I work as a coach. I'm busy with that, right? I need to be on TikTok or I'm irrelevant. False. I'm one of the few people I know that has like less than 1,000 social media followers on TikTok, Instagram, any of that. Yet somehow I've been able to start multiple successful businesses without that. So you don't need to use those, right? There are other ways. Blogs are dead. People think blogs don't work anymore. They definitely work. I just showed you 70,000 plus unique visitors to my blogs in the past 365 days, which converts into people receiving my emails, 80,000 emails in the last 30 days. So you don't have to, believe everything you hear. So why do we avoid social media? Okay. Well, couple reasons here. We try and then we disappear. How many of us have posted a couple things for a week, you didn't get enough comments or likes, and you just gave up? Right? I've been there. I did that. I'm like still there with a lot of social media, different platforms. But one thing I haven't given up on is emails and blog posting. You only post about solutions, right? If you do this and you don't get responses, you think, oh, okay, well, I guess, this isn't going to work. You use ChatGPT so obviously it creates distrust and dissonance, right? Like, I know ChatGPT is cool, but we gotta hide it. We gotta or you can use ChatGPT. Excuse me. You can use it to prompt you, right? I'm sure all of you can express your ideas articulately, but use ChatGPT to prompt you rather than do it for you. Be like, give me some prompts that parents who are struggling with their kids would want to hear from me as an educator. Let it prompt you, but not necessarily. And here's a quick fix. Don't have so many emojis. Just be like ChatGPT, no emojis, because that's an immediate sign that something is produced by ChatGPT. Just tell it to take off 99% of the emojis on the content. No framework, right? A framework is what creates predictability. If you look at all of my blog content for the last like year and a half, probably, if you analyze it, which I'll explain to you, it's the same framework every time. It's a different idea. It's creative, but it's the same framework. And the data. We have to have some way to evaluate, like, is what I'm doing working? It might not be likes. It could just be something like impressions, like how many people saw this. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. Who's ready for the solution? How do you show up consistently on social media with limited time and you hate social media or dislike it? Who's ready for this? All right. So I'm going to break it down for you first, the strategy, and then we're going to go into the tactics. Does that sound good? Thank you for the me's in the chat box. I appreciate it. So here are the keys to creating consistent content as an education entrepreneur. First, document, don't create. The biggest mistake most new creators make is that they feel like they have to be creative. You don't have to be creative. Your life and your work is a perfect what should I say, like source for your content. You don't have to create anything. You can just literally document what you're doing to solve problems and the problems that you're solving. Number two, you can choose a medium and platform you enjoy. If you don't like video, write content, Substack, your own blog. If you don't like writing, make videos, right? You can choose something. If you just like talking to people, record a podcast. Like, you can do all of these with your phone. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be something. Use a framework that works. Okay? And I'll share one with you. And repurpose using the hubs and spoke model. Okay, and I'm going to teach you that. Now, I want to share something with you all. I spent the past couple weeks working on this document, which I'm not sharing anywhere else. You're the only people who have seen this or are going to see this for now. And I'm going to share with you here. It's called the Content Production Operating System. And everything is in here. I'm going to share it at the end if you stick around. So all the frameworks, all the prompts for everything are in here. I'm sharing it with you all. I'm not putting it on my website because all I ask is that when you open this and look at it and copy from it and use it, I want you to comment on it if there's anything that's not there that you need. So I made it anyone with link can comment. All right, so just comment on it. Be like, I need more help here. All I want is your feedback, so I know what I need to add to this or reduce in order to make it better. So I'll share this near the end if you stick around. Hint, lead magnet. Okay, so let's keep going here. So those are the 4 principles that I'm going to teach you here. And let's go through them so you can use them. So number 1, the document, don't create principle. So just take that pressure off yourself. You don't need to be creative. All you have to do is document. And here's how you're going to do it. You are going to identify a narrow problem you solved in your coaching session. Okay? Now let's define what a narrow problem is. So maybe you taught your student how to use Google Tasks to track their assignments. Maybe you showed them how to email their teacher and create a template. Maybe you walk them through how to navigate Canvas, Google, and Classroom. For each of those narrow problems, or narrow solutions, I should say, there was a problem that caused it, right? So for this first one, taught my student how to use Google Tasks. Maybe it's like my student can't track their assignments. My student is always missing assignments. Well, the solution is using Google Tasks, right? So you have the problem and then you have the solution. And I'm sure all of you know how to do this stuff. So let's just define this a little bit further. Narrow problems versus broad problems. Narrow, how to use Google Tasks. Broad, how to stay organized. If you make a blog about how to stay organized, you could be speaking to anyone in the world, right? But how to use Google Tasks as a student with ADHD, that's a very specific problem you're solving. How to do box breathing, as opposed to the broad problem, how to stay emotionally regulated, right? Emotionally regulated is very broad. But if you solve someone's problem like, why does my student get overwhelmed after school or when I try to offer them help? Well, here's a narrow solution you can offer them. How to ping your teacher. This is something I created, the ping method, to email teachers, as opposed to how to communicate, which is very broad as a student. So we want to find very broad problems very narrow problems and narrow solutions that you can offer and just document that. And I'll show you how to do that. So next, once you identify those narrow problems that you're solving through your unique solution, then you're going to choose a medium and platform you enjoy. So you might be wondering, which one do I choose? There's so many: LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, whatever the new one is. What do I choose? So the question is, what do you enjoy doing? Because whatever you enjoy is where it's going to shine through. Remember, people told me blogs are dead. You have to be on TikTok. I'm not using TikTok really. I mean, I post stuff there, but my main hub is my website, my blog, which I share out. So if you like to write, consider using Substack or your website. If you prefer video, you can make YouTube videos. The most successful creator I know in terms of financial success does everything on her phone. Like literally does not have she makes like over $10 million a year. Does everything on her phone, records everything. I mean, your phones these are really powerful tools, right? You don't have to have anything special to make content. Want to interview people or just talk? Record a podcast, or you could record a Zoom call and upload that as a podcast, right? You can do that. I use for my older podcast, Earn More Tutoring, I use, what is it called? Buzzsprout. I just take the audio, upload it, put a description, and it sends it to every platform, right? It's not as hard as you think. The hard part is getting through your identity crisis of I'm not a techie person. If you just let that go and you're like, I can learn this, I can try, right? That's the hard part. So remember, you can do them all on a phone if needed. So here's my promise to you. If you commit to just one of these things, even if it's just using your phone, you will figure it out and you will get better. I can promise you that. And if that does not happen, email me and I will give you a refund on this webinar if it doesn't work out. Okay, so now how do you show up consistently? Third key, you have to use a framework. If you're showing up every week trying to just like be creative, you're always going to fail. Maybe not. Maybe you're more creative than me. But I was failing when I was trying to be creative. So I'm going to show you a framework that works. You can steal this. It's in the handout I'm going to share with you if you'd like. All right. So here's how literally every blog I write on both Coaching Academy, Executive Function Specialists, and even my YouTube videos are all this same template pretty much. I almost never deviate from it. Here's what I'm going to teach you today. Actually, I used it for this presentation too. Here's why this topic matters. Here are the common mistakes people make when trying to do or learn this. Here is my unique 3 to 5 step approach to solve this challenge. 3 to 5 steps is usually the best. More than that, people start to get overwhelmed by all the steps. So keeping it with 3 to 5 steps. There's a good book on this called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. You don't have to buy that or download it, but basically explains this concept. And then you summarize, okay, here's the bottom line, right? If your kid's missing assignments, start with a dashboard, have them email their teachers, and connect each week to look at it together, right? And then a PS. And this is where you can put your call to action. So you can be like, hey, if this was helpful, book a free consult with me, or download my framework, or whatever it might be. If you look at my website and you look at the bottom of every blog article, it's the same PS. Hey, if you found this helpful, check out my semester success blueprint course where you can learn all the strategies I use when coaching students, right? It's great to have a testimonial too. If you share like, hey, if this was helpful, book a call with me, and then like a testimonial for someone who had a call with you and it was helpful, right? That's gonna help, but you don't even have to have that. You can just have that, just some type of PS. Another thing I didn't include here, but I would recommend is soft calls to action throughout your content. So if you're using this formula in your content, you could say, by the way, this is something I do with all of my coaching clients. And you could just highlight and link coaching clients, and it leads to your book a free meeting page. So finding soft ways to introduce your offer in your content is also another great way to not like be scary when you're offering something. Because these are things that I teach to my one-to-one coaching clients when I work with them. Wink. Okay. So how do you show up consistently? Fourth key is repurpose using the hub and spoke model. All right. So the hub is your main piece of content. So this might be a blog article you wrote, right? If you want to make a YouTube video or a podcast, that's your main piece of content, your hub, right? And you choose the one that works for you. And then instead of trying to create new content all the time, what you can do, oh, sorry, these are the main hubs, examples of hubs. Now, the reason I share these as hubs, YouTube is a search engine, right? Meaning if you Google something or search on ChatGPT, it'll take you to YouTube videos where it's not really going to do that for Instagram or TikTok videos. Blogs are also part of this search engine world, right? Google is the search engine. YouTube is a search engine. Podcasts, not as much, I feel. They don't have as much. Maybe they do show up, on Google and stuff. But YouTube and Google are like major search engines, and ChatGPT is also beginning to like draw from those and share that content with you. So I call those your hub, right? Those are like, you want things that sit in those major search engine, and will be pulled up on searches. And then you're going to have your spokes. Okay. So let's say you write an article or create a video called How to Email Your Teacher to Earn Better Grades as a Student with ADHD or something. That's your main article, right? You wrote it. You use this framework I shared with you. Let me go back real quick. Use this framework where you're like, I'm going to teach you how to email your teachers. This matters because students who communicate get better grades. The mistakes they make are they just write their desire in the subject line. Here's my 3 to 5 step approach. And by the way, if you found this helpful, book a free call with me or something, right? So that's your hub. Your spoke is going to be little snippets of this article, right? So I'm sharing a few examples here. There's different ways to approach this, but I'll just give you this example. Is spokes might be observations, past versus present, contrarian takes, listicles, stories, what you did in the past versus what you do now, right? So let's look at this in practice. So if your hub article is how to help students set up a student dashboard, here are examples of spoke content you can create on that topic. So maybe you tell a story. Last year, a high school senior I coached was failing 3 classes because he couldn't track his assignments. We set up a simple student dashboard, and within a month, he had 0 missing assignments and a better grasp of his schedule. Here's how we did it. Step 1, we use this template. That could be a lead magnet, right? You could link, you could be like, that's in my profile, or here's what I used, right? So that's a story. Going back here, you got the story, right? So that's one way you share that. Now, also, the other thing you can do at the bottom of this, if you post this on LinkedIn or Facebook, is you can put, if this would be helpful to you, check out my full guide on this. And then it links back to your YouTube video, your podcast, your article, whatever the hub for this spoke content is. All right. If your hub is how to help students set up the dashboard, here's another example. Contrarian take. Planners don't work for most students. If they did, you wouldn't be reading this. Instead of forcing your student to use a planner, help them build a digital dashboard that works with their brain. Here's how. You're saying the same exact thing, you're just positioning it differently. So that's another piece of spoke content. So you see here, from one piece of content, you can make unlimited spoke content that you can repurpose for years and years and years, right? You could share this stuff and then come back 6 months later and reshare it. Or you could share it at the beginning of every semester. So you don't have to be constantly creating once you start, right? The articles I share, many of them are just updated versions of something I wrote a year ago. I mean, once you get to like 2 years of content, like you basically don't need to create anything new. You can just repurpose things, especially as coaches with students. A lot of the stuff is very based on the semesters and the cycles. Okay. If your main hub, again, is the setting up a student dashboard, here's a listicle. Here's 5 problems a student dashboard solves. What's due? How do I know if it's been submitted? What's my teacher's email? Where's the link to that assignment? Where's my Canvas login? Right? So what you're doing here is you're making your hub content sweat. Instead of having to be creative and come up with something new every week, wouldn't it be nice to not have to make new stuff all the time and just go deeper with the current stuff you've already created? So those are 3 examples. I think I'll share. Yeah. Now, as I shared with you, I've got these templates all available in the handout I'm gonna share with you. So here it is in the handout. This is the spoke content section. You can go in here, and these are templates you can use, right? And you can fill those in and share them. The cool thing about this is that these are going to be unique to how you approach coaching, right? Even though you're using a template, it's going to be very unique to your approach. Everybody has their own methods for getting students engaged. So this is just a start. And if you are planning on doing this, what I recommend doing is asking ChatGPT, like, say, hey, can you help me create templates rather than just do it for me? Like, you fill it in with your unique approach. Just get the template there. All right, let's jump back over to Canva. All right, so now the question is, how do you get started? Well, I've laid it out on this workbook step by step. So you just start with something small. So if you could drop that in the chat so people can have access to that. Oh, and actually what we need to do too is make sure you don't ask for editing permission, just make a copy of it or keep that and you can comment on it. But I'm not gonna let people edit it. So just go to when you open this up. Let me share with you. We'll need to put this at the top. Just do file, make a copy. So file, make a copy. Let's see here. Make a copy right there. And then this is it. So this is like okay, it's 14 pages. It's long, but it's worth it. It's going to be a very valuable 14 pages in your life. And some of this is just like the outline. So let me walk you through this real quick so you can create your first piece of content. So first step, you just brainstorm ideas, right? Like, what are problems that you're already solving? Maybe it's how to prepare for your first semester of college, or like whatever it might be. What are you doing with students right now? And the mistake coaches make here is they overlook the things they're doing because they feel like everybody knows how to do it. People don't know how to do it. You have to teach them. Okay? Then here's the framework that works every time. So this is the framework, title of your content. You explain why it matters, why most people struggle with it, and your step-by-step guide. And then you just have a conclusion and your PS. I've also put in a little about me section. So one thing I teach coaches how to do is build their own backstory so people trust you quicker. And so if you fill this in, you can modify it for your own reasons. But this is like a backstory builder. It's based on the heroic journey. So people can see that there is like a reason that they should trust that you are the right person to help them solve their problem. Okay. This is a little bit long. So, feel free to shorten and modify. But this is basically the template for your long form content. Now, this is ready to go for a blog, but you could use this same structure for a podcast, for a YouTube video. You can modify it, of course. I mean, you don't have to use mine. Like this is just the one I created, but you can make your own. Okay. Now, section 3 is once you create that hub content, then you can start to use these templates to create spoke content. So maybe if you're posting this on your website, you use these templates to create the spoke content that you share out on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, right? So these are just different examples of that. There are other examples. These are not the only ones, but these are ones that will help you stay on topic for the ideal customers that you want to work with. Okay. Now, this is how I use voice notes to quickly create the content. So after I work with someone and I solve a problem, I then just voice note it into app like the basic Apple iPhone voice note tool, right? There's like a voice memo thing. And I'm like, okay, today I taught someone how to use Google Tasks. This is important because unless you have an organization system, you're not going to know how to track your assignments. This person was struggling because they were writing things down on different lists, or they were, and I just literally say these things, right? And then I share these voice notes. I just upload it to ChatGPT, and it turns it into it just converts my voice note into a blog. Basically, it's my thoughts, it's all my ideas, but I just have it formatted using this. So this is actually the prompt I use to take my voice note and turn it into an article. So you can copy this, you can paste this into ChatGPT, and you can upload your own voice note and just be like, turn this voice note into a newsletter style blog, targeting whoever you want to support. And here's this. So you'll have to modify this for your own purposes. It also has little things that I hate about ChatGPT, like do not use repetitive phrase like it isn't just about, it's about, or isn't it more than, but the truth is. So you can add all the little things you don't like about ChatGPT, add it to your template each time so it um, doesn't repeat those things that you dislike. Then I take it through this little content editing checklist. So have I added visuals? Is everything understandable? Do I stick to the main topic? Right? Do I have a call to action to book a free consult? Right? So you can create your own checklist. And that's it. Right? Now, I suggest you batch this stuff, right? So instead of spending every day trying to figure it out, block out 3 hours once a month where you just dump all your ideas, right? I am also sharing Maya, my administrative assistant, and we've worked together to create this. So this is a template that no one else has access to, and you can use this. So this is how I map out what I'm going to be sharing throughout the year. So I just put it on the dates. And then we have this monthly calendar. So it's like, when is it going out? What's the title? Voice note transcript, link to edit, right? So you can use this to kind of map out your content because this is the most valuable part in some ways, is like thinking about what you want to communicate rather than being random and having it mapped out, right? And even if you just started with, I'm going to do one article for the next once a month for the next 12 months, that's fine, right? It's like progress, not perfection. Okay. Now, the last thing in this little bonus section is if you are on social media and you want to get people excited about your content, when you release a new piece of content, you can send out something before and something after. So this is called a pre-newsletter CTA and a post-newsletter CTA. So you can say this week, If you want to enroll in my newsletter, I'm going to be sharing how to email your teachers, the mistakes most students make when they email their teachers, like why it matters. And I'm going to show if you start with 100 or 5 people, whatever number, I'm going to show 10 people how to do this. If you want to learn this, click here. So I wouldn't suggest sharing this every time on social media, but if you do, for example, 5 posts, the sixth one could be this like, get on my newsletter. And this is called deplatforming. The number one goal with social media is to take them from social media and get them onto your email list. That's called deplatforming. Because everybody's going to tell you this. Social media changes every week, right? But your email list or the people that you can contact directly, that's your gold mine. That's the people who are going to support your business and help you grow, right? Because I don't think anybody showed up from this to this workshop from social media, but everybody who came probably came from my email list. Okay? So that is basically the framework I've been using for last year and a half to be really consistent. And it has paid off a million times, 1,000 times. Like it works if you give it a shot. So let me jump back over. I'm going to answer questions in a couple minutes. Um, so I'm going to answer some questions, but first off, I want to thank everybody for joining today. I hope this was a valuable 45 minutes in your life. If you have any questions, you can message me about it. Message me or send me an email, chat with me. I hope it's helpful. I also want to share that if you're like, I want to do this, but I need some help, um, I have 2 ways to go about that. So the first way is if you go to executivefunctioncoachingacademy.com, you go to coaching. I have my one-to-one business mentoring program where I'll work one-to-one with you so we can help build your content production system and get you out there sharing your expertise in a way that benefits your business and your lifestyle. So that's one way. The other thing I have is my coaching community. So I have a community on School, and every month I do twice monthly Q&As and workshops with the people in my community. So I'm doing actually 3 this month. You can message me directly. I'll help you address anything. So this is like a lower cost than my one-to-one coaching. And it's just a really vibrant community of people that are building their executive function coaching businesses. So I would love for you to be a part of it if you feel that would be helpful. So I'm going to jump back over here and get out of my own way here and turn it over to anybody. Does anybody have questions? I see there's one in the Q&A box, and I'll let me change this to like gallery view now, just so we can all kind of hang out here. I know that we're 1 minute from the official end of the webinar, so feel free if you got to run. That's okay. There will also be a recording of this, so you can watch it later. So let me move this to gallery, and I think non-video participants are just hid. So let me see here. There we go. Got the whole crew. Okay, so let's see here. Carissa, you asked, does this framework also work well for social media content creation such as LinkedIn? Okay, so here's the cool thing about this. So my mentor, Justin Welsh, he taught me this, and he's one of the top creators on LinkedIn. If you Google him, he's got like 800,000 followers on LinkedIn. He built a course called the LinkedIn OS, which I purchased and used. So this is based on a system that works for LinkedIn. I'm going to be honest, I stole a lot of his stuff, but he's making millions of dollars, so I'm sure he's not going to be mad about it. He actually told me go ahead and copy my stuff. But I made this specific for educators. But this is the system that he built through LinkedIn. So I do believe, yeah, this model. Now keep in mind you have to test and analyze. So you try stuff and look at the numbers, right, and the impressions, and look at and see if it's working. It's not just all about likes. It's also about like reshares and comments and kind of test things, right? But the key is you have to try something for at least 90 days to see like if it's working. You don't want to be on that I engage for a week and then I quit, and then it's harder to evaluate if what you're doing works. Does that help?
Yes,
Pam, you asked.
definitely.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
you good
sorry.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I actually took his course as well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, I noticed some similarities, but I was like, I'm not sure if this is exactly because you renamed it, right? And like it's more tailored to
Yes,
education.
definitely. It's definitely similar. And I think these are principles that you'll probably hear from anybody who's really zoning in on this content production piece. But one thing he didn't share was his framework. And I was like, I
Yeah.
want a framework. So I want to give everybody something to work with. You can, of course, change it. Um, and then I think the other piece, yeah, there's a few things I've drawn from different things I've learned about the document, don't create. People usually don't talk about that. And the narrow problem thing, he doesn't talk about that as much either. So I want to make, because I just think that like coaches, you have so much going on that you can draw from that we ignore. You know, it's like you have valuable experiences that you're having with clients or even just messaging people where you're helping them solve problems. Don't ignore that stuff. Like that's the key right there. Yeah. And check out Carissa on LinkedIn. You should drop your LinkedIn profile. Carissa helps educators transition to satisfying careers. You should check her out. I love what she's doing and creating. Um, so if you can, Carissa, please do drop your LinkedIn profile in. She's doing really cool stuff. Pam asked, what's the cost to join the school community? So the school community, you either get it for 90 days if you enroll in my certification program, which is $14.95. Or you can join if you're already a coach and you don't want to do the certification, you can join for $999 for the year. So for less than $100 a month, you can get direct support from me on stuff like this. Um, and hopefully if you put this to work, like this brings in 10 times that, if not more, in the coming year for you. Do we have any more questions or anything people need help with? Or just want to say, because we're all here together right now. Yeah, I see Sherry. Hope I
Hello.
pronounced this correctly. Hey.
I'm laughing that your porthole is like your little crown. Is that
Yeah, I know, right? Someone said it was like horns of a devil, but I prefer a crown, so thank you.
and the key? It's cracking me up. So because I have ADHD and very poor executive functioning right now, like that was awesome, but it was still a bit overwhelming. Like, do you
Yes.
maybe have some tips for narrowing it down even more for someone who's like, I want to start even smaller?
Yes. I do. Yes. Okay. So, well, first off, where are you at in your content creation journey? Like where are you? Are you like, I'm not doing anything. I'm once in a while like where are you at?
Pretty much nothing. Yeah, because that I am working on the all or none. That's definitely one of my
Yeah, yeah.
challenges.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What is your preferred medium to share your knowledge? Like, do you like to put your face up? Do you prefer to just write something? Like, what's your preferred medium?
Well, and that's it. Like when you said about that person who I'm trying to figure out who they are, by the way, the
Hmm.
who only uses their phone and the $10 million. dollars. We need a hint.
Oh, her name is I just bought her book. Um and it's a funny title. It's called Lady Balls. That's the title of her book and it's claiming your divine feminine power in the universe. She teaches people about that, but I enjoyed the book. It was like made me feel more masculine somehow. But what is her name? It's
I'll
Mina,
Google it.
Mina Ifram. She's like, and she has so much free content, so you don't have to pay for anything unless you want to. But yeah, she does everything on her phone, which is amazing. Um,
Yeah,
but
so
also inspiring. Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I keep telling. I mean, it's like just getting that first step. I don't know why, because I like being in front of people and speaking.
Yeah.
And so, like what you said, that coaching, it's like if people ask me questions, I'll talk and tell them great things. But getting my personal motivation to do it to like just a camera is tough. So, one strategy I've been thinking of is like have a friend like fake interview me or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that whatever, and that's where the executive functioning piece works because whatever is going to work for you, you like if you decide, and it's kind of like committing to it. It's like, okay, it's like a challenge. I'm gonna try this for 7 days and see what happens, right? And it's like, so I think choosing something that you're like, okay, I can make this work, and starting so small that you'd feel like, all right, I can do this. So, for example, for me right now, one way I'm trying this with LinkedIn is I heard this interview, and Stephen Bartlett, the host of the Diary of a CEO, he said, I made a commitment to myself that I would process whatever I learned that day and post something with 240 characters or less each day on social media. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. And I'm not afraid to like sit there and spend 20 minutes thinking about what I learned that day and share that. So I would say start with something so small that you're like, even if I'm tired, I could make time for this, right? And maybe that's just like posting something on LinkedIn about, and I would also ask you, who do you want to serve? Like who are you called to serve?
Yeah, that's the hard thing. I'm kind of all over the place
Mhm.
because I was a general facilitator and coach. So I am
Yeah.
trying to niche down more, and I
Hmm.
haven't quite determined that yet.
Yeah, so then actually I would start there, which is like, hey, I there's someone I would think about who you really want to help, and it might just be like, you can keep it somewhat broad. Maybe it's like, hey, I want to help people who are facilitators, right? And they're thinking about how to do that, or whatever it is you're feeling like pulled towards. And that might be the first step, is just thinking about that. And then what I do is I'll ask ChatGPT, I'll say, can you give me 5 prompts of questions I could answer that would be valuable to this group of people? So for example, yesterday I was like, I kept writing and I kept asking my wife, what do you think of this post? And she's like, too broad, too annoying. And then I was like, all right, ChatGPT, give me 5 prompts for questions I could answer that would help transitioning teachers who want to be this. And and so I wrote my answer to what it gave me. But I would maybe use it as like a thought partner and ask it a few questions like, hey, I'm struggling with my niche, but this is who I feel called to serve or what I want to help with. Can you give me a few prompts? And just maybe start with that like thing. My other friend, she said to me, she was like, just spend 10 minutes a day, on social media. If you can just spend 10 minutes, see how it feels to like post something and engage. So I would just start really small. That's my suggestion.
Great. Thank you. That was very
Does that
helpful.
help?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And, I also realize I might just need a coach for that one specific thing. It's so much easier when someone else tells you to do
That's
something
true. That's true.
yourself.
One of my mentors, he's like, if you're having a problem, he said the solution 99% of the time is throw time and money or time and money at it. Like sometimes, and that's what I tell people. I say like sometimes when you invest in something, especially coaching, because there's that human accountability piece, it's called a commitment device. You're forcing yourself to show up for something, and it's like that's the key is you have to find a way to trick yourself into doing the thing that sucks. Which is, like this. Like, I'll give you an example. This doesn't, I love this. I'm really enjoying this, but I was like, man, I really want to like share more value for people. So what I did was I created the event. I hadn't built all the content. I was like, all right, I need to do something next month for my audience because I'm not showing up for them enough. And this is my way of doing that. So I just created the event. I posted it. People started registering, and I was like, oh my God, I have to like get this done. Sometimes putting yourself out there first can force you to take action.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Isabel, I see you have your hand up. Feel free to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Sean, for sharing this. I was just talking with a friend like 2 weeks ago about like a position and EF content. So I was thinking maybe to do like a webinar or something like that, so people can know me or relate me that I know about EF. But I was wondering how I can like get to know people about the webinar, or I was thinking like maybe sending to some parents that I know, and yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's a great point because I used to do a lot of webinars and 0 people would show up. So I'm so grateful when anyone shows up to any of my webinars. I'm like,
Uh,
this is amazing. So that's a great, I call it like a lead magnet or something attractive that you can give for free. So I would start, yeah, what I teach people, and I'll share this. I think we have it on the think we have it. So in the community, since you're a part of the community, and also I just want to give a shout out to Isabel. Isabel, I think, is the first and only. Well, I'm sure that there may be other people doing it, but she is the only executive function coach we've got in South America, specifically Guatemala. So that's super cool. This is a cool feature of the community. We've got this map where we can see people are. So what I would recommend doing is I would, and I think I have this posted here. Let me see here. Dream 100. Okay, no, it's called your outreach list. Um, so I have on this email, and it's also on the free downloads on the Executive Function Coaching Academy. But I'll just pull this up here. So what I would do is this outreach tracker template. I'll drop this in the chat box for anybody who finds it valuable. I would come up with a list of like 10 people who, if they knew about this, it might be valuable. So it's like neuropsychologists, like professionals out of school who are looking for resources to help their kids, and because oftentimes people want to share something valuable and useful. And one way to do this is kind of find some other people who are like honest in a similar place in the journey with you. So maybe there's some other, people in your community who are starting a therapy practice, or they're like trying to build value and create a little network. So it's like finding those people and then just making I call it your dream 100. And it's also like Justin Welsh calls it like scaling the ladder. It's like find people in a similar place who are starting their businesses or just a little bit ahead of you who this would help their audience, right? And try to share it with as many as possible. And you might want to pick a date like a month from now, so you have like 4 weeks to really get it out there. And then just make sure there's a way for people to like lock themselves in. So like some type of registration link. It could just be a Google form, that you create where they just put their email and that's how you kind of get the start of that. And even if two people show up and do something valuable, you could upload it to YouTube. You know what I mean? You could share it with future people. Like, just to give an example, if you do a webinar like this webinar or webinars that I do, I often turn them into a lead magnet. So I'll give you an example of this. So I have this, actually, I'll show you how this works from LinkedIn. Right. So if you go to my LinkedIn page, excuse me, look at that, Chris is right there. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you can see that I have this free webinar down here. It's pinned on my featured page. So this takes you to this. Oops, no, I must have just changed that. Let's see here. We'll have to fix that. Okay, so this is a horrible example of that. I must have just unpublished that page. But anyways, it takes you to a free page where you can watch a video, and then if you like it, you can contact me or fill out an application, right? So like these little things you do, even if you just do it for one person or even yourself, you can repurpose that into something that you use over and over on your website.
Okay, thanks. Yes, I just made a Google form,
Yeah.
like to get in some topics and asking if people know about executive functions. And yeah, the last question is if you want to participate in a webinar, you can write your email.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like a good idea to think like in 10 people.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Start small. If you can make a positive impact on one person, it matters. Those become your ideal clients, the people who are willing to show up. And if you want, share it in the community. Since you're part of that, drop it in there. Let us look at it. We'll give you feedback, all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to wrap up. Are there any final questions, wonders, things people need help with before we close for today?
I have a question, Sean.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. I know you briefly mentioned something about this coaching community you have.
Mm-hmm.
How do I learn more about that?
Yeah, that's another thing I need to finish up, which is like the membership page for that. I've been still
Okay.
on that. I think, let me see here if I have, I'm gonna see here if I got this page. I have like all these pages that are hidden that are like, okay, this is the page, a little bit about it. So I'm gonna drop this in the chat box. But do not follow the links here. If you have questions about it, because this is, yeah, that is not working. Maya, help me with that. When we get a chance. This is just kind of a little bit of information about it, but you can also just send me a direct message about it if anyone has questions about it.
Okay.
And what I think I have on here is a video. Do I have a video here?
I was gonna say there's also that document, the 12-month membership document.
Yes.
That might
That'd
be
be really
better.
helpful. Yeah, could you drop that in, or Share it in the follow-up email too, if that's easier for people.
Yeah, I will drop it in right now.
Cool. Yeah, I gotta, business is here. That's the thing that's different about me than most people is I'm okay with a lot of stuff not being perfect. I'm embarrassed, but I'm gonna keep going. Um, and that's something you have to get really comfortable with if you're doing this stuff is like a lot of it's gonna be trash, or not great. But that's okay because it'll get better over time. You gotta start somewhere. Um, thank you, Car. I appreciate that. So we will wrap up there. Any other questions? I want to make sure people get what they need before we wrap up. I have one ask for you all. If you got value from this, please share it. We're going to upload the video to YouTube. Please just share it with someone who might benefit from it, who's struggling with this issue or wants to put themselves out there, doesn't know how to do it. Please do share it. That would mean a lot to me, and it definitely helps me create more content like this because the only reason I can do this is because I've got to a point by sharing enough free stuff where it works with my business flow, but it truly does help if people share it and invite more people to learn about it. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Follow up with any questions and go out there and share your expertise. Bye, y'all.